Unfair criticism is a workplace bullying technique. In fact, it's one of the last workplace bullying techniques. It's important to distinguish between unfair and constructive criticism. Constructive criticism is a correction. It is feedback that is helpful, useful, meaningful, educational, informative, motivational, and even inspirational, designed and intended to help, assist, aid, teach, educate, inform, motivate, inspire, coach, and mentor you, because a healthy employer, like a healthy parent, genuinely and sincerely desires your success, if for no other reason than the fact that your success makes them look good. They really want to see you grow, develop, improve, and succeed. And if for any reason not satisfied with any aspect of your work quality or performance, will stop at nothing to make sure that you have the tools that you need to get better, up to and including additional formation, training, or continuing education, either inside or outside of the workplace. There is nothing constructive about unfair criticism. It is meant to be wholly demoralizing, and it is. The intent is to shoot you down, shut you up, put you in your place, and ultimately get rid of you and eliminate you from the workplace for good. It is a total power trip and a control move. Unfair criticism is similar to the workplace bullying techniques of lying and gossip, otherwise known as the narcissistic smear campaign. The difference is that up until this point, the lies have been contained among the coworkers and clients. They become unfair criticism when they reach the higher ups. If you have been wondering what all the lies about you have been in the workplace, you probably don't need to wonder, because you are probably sensitive, intuitive, and empathic, but your suspicions will be confirmed when you hear the lies regurgitated back to you from bosses, managers, and supervisors in the form of a verbal or written warning. Unfair criticism is a final act of desperation on the part of an employer. Workplace bullying is a form of narcissistic abuse. All workplace bullies are narcissists, or at the very least have narcissistic tendencies. The higher ups may or may not themselves necessarily be narcissists, but if they have succumbed to the narcissistic smear campaign, then at the very least they have become the flying monkeys, the little minions of the narcissistic workplace bullies, who are now doing the bully's bidding. Narcissists care about one thing and only one thing in this world or in this life, and that is their image, their reputation, what other people think of them, and how they look to other people. So no one wants the paper trail associated with an outright firing. Even when they have definitively decided to get rid of you and are actively preparing your firing, they will still make a last-ditch effort or attempt to force you to quit by presenting the results of the narcissistic smear campaign, trying to convince you that it's your choice, your decision, and trying to persuade you to be the one to walk away. Because if you do, you can't really come after them in a court of law, you don't really have a legal leg to stand on, and indeed cannot even file for unemployment. Depending on your jurisdiction, the usual protocol is to issue a verbal warning followed by a written warning. Even in a state such as mine, with what is called at-will employment, which basically means that you can be fired, but you can also quit with no advance warning or notice. If it is a verbal warning, it will never be announced as such. Instead, it will be passed off as just another meeting, often without pay, during which you will be subjected to a maddening series of manipulative mind games meant to send you a message with the hope that that message will somehow magically sink in overnight. And the next day, the narcissistic workplace bullies will be staring at you with glee, delight, and anticipation. Because if bullies want one thing, they really need to see you cry. Whether it's a verbal or written warning, it's just a precaution. This is the workplace bullying variant of CYA, cover your ass, just in case the company needs to make it look as though it has followed established procedure. But make no mistake, this is not a discussion. You are on your way out. I once taught in a school where the principal told us that when giving feedback about students to parents, we were to give first negative feedback followed by positive feedback in what she called in Spanish a slap before a kiss. When it comes to unfair criticism in the workplace, it's the opposite. So when receiving unfair criticism, be prepared first for nauseating, stomach churning, ass kissing before reading or hearing a laundry list of petty exaggerations and outright falsehoods that are so crazy making they make Donald Trump look like an existential philosopher. Unfair criticism takes the forms of what I have technically called blowing things out of proportion, nitpicking, and making shit up. Yes, even employers are not above falsifying and fabricating accusations and even documents that can be part of your employment record and can become legal documents used in a court of law. Because without evidence or proof to the contrary, it becomes just a matter of he said, she said, and the word of a company always holds more water against the word of an unemployed worker. A verbal or written warning is something that could conceivably be part of a legal proceeding, so it can't very well refer to what workplace bullying is really all about, which is the insecurity of a bunch of pathologically jealous narcissists. So they have to make it sound as though it is about your work quality, work ethic, or bedside manner. What it really is hypocrisy that is on a level that is mind-blowing and a total double standard. You are held to a higher standard than everyone in the workplace, including your own so-called superiors, who remain psychotically obsessed with dominating you. When it comes to the quality of your work, there are false accusations of work that is incomplete or incorrect, all while workplace bullies have been using the workplace bullying technique of withholding and not giving you the necessary information, tools, resources, materials, or even direction to get the job done in the first place. If there are mistakes, this is the first time you're hearing about them. Workplace bullies love to make book on you, stockpile a laundry list of mistakes over time, months, and even years, never to reveal or disclose that information because they want to use it against you in your firing. And there will even be accusations of not fulfilling responsibilities that are nowhere in your job description, such as answering phones or delivering food when you work in an intellectual profession and are not a server or an administrative assistant. There are false complaints from clients who don't exist or who never made those complaints in the first place. And if you ask for the names of people who are ostensibly complaining about you, those people don't exist. When it comes to your work ethic, the big one is that you are not on task, doing something personal and not work related, all while narcissistic workplace bullies have been spending hours for months and even years engaging in mean-spirited, malicious gossip in the narcissistic smear campaign, often on company time and company pay, and taking 3-hour lunch breaks to do so. And some of them even literally sleep on the job. The other big one is false accusations of tardiness. When it comes to workplace bullying, this is the oldest trick in the book. Workplace bullies love to set their watches 20 minutes ahead of time and then accuse everybody else of being late. If a workplace bully hits you with that one, then he or she is as uncreative and unoriginal as it can get. In my most recent workplace bullying experience, I was publicly criticized in a meeting for being late, when it was my client who was 20 minutes early. Meanwhile, I had a coworker who was consistently late to every single meeting, including one with the CEO of the company, and who was once so late to work that his entire class had to be canceled and his clients had to be sent home. But I was the one who was criticized for being late. But he was a white man and I don't have a dick. When it comes to your bedside manner, it's all about your attitude. You're not friendly, not collaborative, you don't work well or play well with others, you're difficult to talk to and difficult to work with, blah, blah, blah. At this point, you are having a perfectly normal, natural, healthy, sane, emotional response to being bullied by people who have been snubbing you the whole time and who in an entire year have not once greeted you or asked you how you are doing. Many of the workplace bullies don't get along with one another, and some of them have not even bothered to learn the names of other coworkers, especially women of color, because narcissists are famously prejudiced. You are required to attend social functions inside and outside of work, often without pay, but the same demands are not made of your coworkers, and you are the one who is quote unquote negative and unhappy, all while your narcissistic workplace bullies radiate sheer and utter dour joylessness. And there are even accusations about the way that you dress, when again you work in an intellectual profession, not in entertainment. Does the person sitting across the table from you when you are called on the carpet actually believe all this bullshit? Doesn't matter. Some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them are insecure, jealous narcissists themselves who very much enjoy hurting you, because hurting other people is how narcissists achieve significance. And some of them are just what Albert Camus called le bourreau, the executioner, just doing what he has to do, like don't shoot the messenger. Make no mistake, this is the end game. Narcissistic abuse has 3 phases: love bombing, devaluation, and discard, and this is very much the discard. They are hell-bent on getting rid of and eliminating you, and they will. Why does it work? For 2 reasons. The first is sheer numbers. There are always more of them than there are of you. The Workplace Bullying Institute has stated that the word mobbing needs to be retired, because all workplace bullying is mobbing. Workplace bullies never act alone because they can't. They are too weak. Evil needs allies, but goodness can always stand alone. Workplace bullies seek out flying monkeys and little minions from among the bystanders to workplace bullying, including your clients, because on a subconscious level they know that what they are doing is wrong and need support for their evil in a kind of cognitive dissonance. And because they know it works. Again, there are more of them, and there's only one of you. If you had 10 bullies and 1 target, and you were an employer, what would you think? And the other reason is sheer stupidity, or more specifically, a lack of spiritual awareness, otherwise known as wisdom. Teal Swan has said that we are living in the emotional dark ages. Even if an employer is not a narcissist himself and is aware of the unfairness of the bullying, that employer has absolutely no psychological or spiritual tools to deal with it. The sting of the narcissistic discard from the workplace is not so much what it does to your bank account. It feels like a betrayal on a soul level, and that's because of all the bargaining that you've been doing. I think most people, narcissists or otherwise, run around all day long trying to get attention and needing to be liked, working it out in their heads and strategizing how to get love and attention. If I do this, will you like me? If I do this, will you love me? If you're like me, you're kind of done with all of that, and at this point, it's the opposite. Your motivation is not love and attention, but to not get hurt. And your mantra is leave me alone. Bargaining is one of the phases of grief, and you've been grieving since the day you started working there. If I do this, will you not hurt me? If I do this, will you please stop hurting me? In the workplace, that can look like going above and beyond. If you're like me, you believe in paying it forward and don't really mind doing a lot of free stuff. Driving around all over the place in your own vehicle, on your own time without pay, using your own gas, incurring wear, tear, and mileage on your vehicle, printing and copying on your own time without pay, using your own paper and ink, which is very expensive, attending and even organizing functions, professional meetings, and social and team building activities and exercises inside and outside of the workplace, and preparing things, food and presentations for those meetings. But at this point, the workplace looks very much like a dysfunctional family. Nothing you do is ever good enough. And that pales in comparison to all the bargaining that you've been doing with the bullies themselves. When we wrestle with a narcissist, we beg, plead, and cajole, trying to get this person to please stop hurting us. If you're like me, you don't give second chances, you give millionth chances, showing up day after day for months and even years with a smile and a greeting. For bullies who do not greet you, who do not respect or appreciate the cup of love that you are offering, and instead dash it to the ground. You've been kissing ass too, and all the ass kissing goes in one ear and out the other. You can tell that bullies don't even hear it, but instead stare at the surface of your body like you're some kind of alien object that they just can't comprehend. One of the characteristics of narcissism is entitlement. If you give an inch, they take a mile because they feel entitled. The narcissistic workplace bully that I mentioned, who was always late, once took a sandwich from me because I offered it to him. I noticed that during his lunch break he didn't eat, but instead remained seated doing paperwork. For some reason, I had more food than I needed, so I offered him a sandwich for lunch. He took it out of my hands, did not say thank you, immediately began eating it right in front of me, never repaid me or offered to return the favor. I didn't expect to be reimbursed, but a thank you would have been nice. I just include that story as a visual of narcissistic entitlement. All the bargaining doesn't work. You cannot reason or love an emotionally illiterate person into health, well-being, wholeness, or even sanity. And narcissists don't change. They only get worse. Your 80-year-old narcissistic parent is going on 3. People say that the cluster B conditions, psychopathy, sociopathy, and narcissism, are untreatable. Teal Swan has said that narcissists can change and do with the vibration of unconditional love. If that's true, then that's really great and I'm really happy for them. But in the meantime, we have to pay rent. Okay? We don't have time to wait for a narcissistic workplace bully to go meditate on world peace in an ashram in India for 10 years, or to go on a pilgrimage like Siddhartha to achieve enlightenment. Maya Angelou said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I would like to tell workplace bullies, you do you, boo. The problem is they are. It's like, just go to your happy place. Oh wait, this is your happy place. The worst bargaining is the bargaining we do with ourselves on an intellectual, emotional, and even spiritual level. The term for that is cognitive dissonance, which is basically lying to ourselves about something that we know is wrong. For example, I think it's safe to say that no one on earth does not know that smoking is bad for you at this point, and yet millions of people continue to smoke anyway. So they justify it. I'll quit eventually, or my smoking is not as bad as other people's, etc. Workplace bullies themselves are masters at cognitive dissonance. They truly believe they are doing nothing wrong. You have it coming, and they're protecting the company from a bad employee. They may have even convinced themselves that they are actually good people, and will continue to believe so until their dying day. We use cognitive dissonance to justify our own bad behavior, as well as the bad behavior of other people. It's very common for victims of abuse to engage in cognitive dissonance. Think about the proverbial abused child in a dysfunctional family. The one person who is morally and spiritually responsible for loving you more than anyone else, straight up does not love you. That's a truth that a child's brain simply can't handle, because children are not equipped with the tools to deal with that kind of reality. If you are a target of workplace bullying, you are a battered woman. Yes, he abuses me, but he had such an unhappy childhood, and now he's so stressed about work and money. It's like you have Stockholm syndrome. Cognitive dissonance is our rose-colored glasses. We have blinders on. It's like the planet Neptune in astrology, which can represent delusion. You are delusional, sickened by a superficial culture of law of attraction, which is all about false positives and the power of positive thinking, where no one likes a Debbie Downer who points out the obvious reality that the emperor has no clothes. Like the battered woman, you have been running around singing the praises of the workplace and even the bullies themselves, and even doing that on social media. Like a woman who sings the praises of her partner, about what an ideal father and spouse he is, when it turns out he's a drunk and a cheat who comes home and beats his wife and kids. You even turn down other employment opportunities in order to remain loyal to an employer who ultimately will show absolutely no loyalty to you. And you even fantasize about being friends with these people and having them over for dinner parties. One of the characteristics of narcissism is pathological lying. Workplace bullies are pathological liars, and so are you, because the worst lies are the lies that we tell to ourselves. When you get out of a toxic situation, whether it's a job or a relationship, prepare to feel worse. The rose-colored glasses that we wear are a defense mechanism to protect our psyche. And unfortunately, when we come out of survival mode, we head into straight up, full-blown CPTSD. The blinders come off, and all of the trauma that you have been ignoring hits you like a ton of bricks. You cannot believe what you tolerated. You're like, wait a minute, I'm me. How could I put up with that? It's like someone going through a breakup, asking himself, how could I not see? How could I not know? Well, you did know. You had red flags going off on the first date. Over time, as you heal, you can look back on how the toxicity seeped into almost all areas of your life, resulting in near total self-abandonment and an almost complete lack of self-care. You weren't meditating, you weren't even exercising. Look at what you were attracted to. Bad movies, bad music, bad YouTubers, bad food, and a steady diet of microwave meals and dinners made out of Cheetos. The irony of abuse is that the more toxic a situation is, the more you have to self-care like a boss. It's like the quote by Gandhi, "Oh my God, I have so much to do today. I have to meditate for 2 hours instead of 1. How do we forgive ourselves for our cognitive dissonance that is just so cringeworthy and embarrassing? Well, if it was in a romantic relationship, you needed love. Love is the noblest of goals and what we live for. And if it was a job, you needed money. And you can use it as a testament to what a lovely person you really are. Workplace bullies love to accuse targets of being immature because we have not succumbed to their level of cynicism, of thinking we're better, all while they hold us to a higher standard, and of being negative because we happen to not like being bullied. But codependents are some of the most positive people on the planet. Codependents are progressives, muckrakers, and revolutionaries who really believe that it is possible to create heaven on earth. You give people the benefit of the doubt and believe that they can evolve because you have. You're like, I'm already here, guys. I'm just waiting for the rest of y'all to come on board. If you really thought that you were better than any of these people, then you wouldn't have stepped into the ring with them. You would have written them off the minute that you met them. Workplace bullies are master projectors, and you project too. You project that everybody is just like you, that they are secure, solid, and confident, with self-esteem, self-love, self-worth, and self-respect, with a rich internal life and a thorough and complete knowledge and understanding of self, who don't compete with others, who don't compare themselves to other people, who don't do mind games, and one-upsmanship and domination and subordination, who instead engage laterally with others in a spirit of pure equality, respect, and peace, where the only objective is to give and receive love. So that's an introduction to the workplace bullying technique of unfair criticism. To read more in detail, I've written an essay on workplace bullying. It's on my website. I include that information in the description. The reason I create this video series is to establish a forum where targets of workplace bullying can share their experiences and stories in a kind of support group. So you can know, number one, you're not crazy. Workplace bullying is real, and your feelings are perfectly valid and justified. And number two, you're not alone. Unfortunately, countless others have experienced the same thing. So I look forward to reading your comments, and I promise to try to respond to each one. Take care.